Happy New Year and welcome to the I Ching Cafe. Today my name is Belinda Dovston and as I record it is the 1st of January 2020. So good to be with you on this very special day, the beginning of a new decade, a new year, so much excitement. We look ahead to the year and we think of all the potential, all the things we want to do. So let's make this year one where we actually go out and do those things. And we look back at the end of the year and think, wow, we really dug deep and we really made a difference to our lives and the world around us in the year. This is a special episode today where we'll be taking a brief retrospective look as to what we learned or what we should have learned in 2019, the change that we were being asked to pay attention to, and of course looking ahead to the year 2020. What is an overall overriding image to help us understand our learning and focus for the year ahead? So let's get into 2019. I asked the question, what were we supposed to learn from last year? Because if we can learn from any event that happens to us, we can grow and we can develop. So what were we supposed to learn and pay attention to last year in 2019? And the main hexagram we got was hexagram 64, before completion. And I just love the fact that considering so many cycles that ended last year, so many endings and things coming to a close and a lot of crisis for a lot of people, that we get this hexagram that talks about the process of something coming to an end, a big cycle coming to an end, the end of a decade indeed that we finished up yesterday. So this hexagram really asked us to pay attention to and focus on bringing things to a close, on taking the last few steps towards the summit, towards the end of an era, the end of a chapter, the end of something significant in our lives. So what was the big ending that you were grappling with last year? And sometimes endings, most of the time, endings are quite traumatic because we don't like to change, do we? We only tend to change when we are in a crisis, when we are forced to do something differently. So last year, no doubt, you faced some kind of crisis where you were facing endings in your business. Perhaps it's a major client, a project, a particular product or service stream that you're working with, but big endings and cycles coming to an end of an era. The changing line for last year is in position 1, only one changing line, and that talks about any attempt we made to be premature in bringing things to a close. We faced some humiliation. The story of a fox running across the ice too early and getting his tail in the water and being humiliated. So as much as we were facing these endings, the endings also had their own timeline. And as we went through the year, as we tried to push endings and say, okay, I'm done now, or I'm ready for beginnings. No, the ending is still happening. The ending is still happening. It's not yet over. It's not yet over. Don't be premature in pushing an end result or pushing closure. So towards the end of June, around about July, you would have had this energy of getting into trouble by trying to force an ending too soon, or trying to make the crossing or complete things too soon, of not working through the process as the process wants to work through itself. And then the second hexagram, or the relating figure or metaphor of change for 2019, is the hexagram 21, biting through. Now, if you look at the structure of this hexagram, you'll see there's a yang male line at the top and a yang male line at the bottom and a whole lot of female lines in the middle, except for this male line sitting there. So the image that this hexagram creates is an open mouth seeking nourishment with an obstacle. Okay, that line is like a block or an obstacle preventing your jaws from closing. Okay, talking about something really hard and difficult, an obstruction preventing you from getting what you want and what you need. And the way that you get through this obstacle is not negotiating with it, because it can't be negotiated with, is taking drastic, urgent action to bite through the obstacle, bite through that leathery old meat that's stuck between your teeth, bite through the plank that's sitting there that's preventing you from eating. And so in 2019, what did we learn? We learned about endings, and we learned about making decisive, decisions and taking action to root out the thing that's blocking our nourishment. Now, this particular hexagram 21 is also known as the legal hexagram. It often talks to situations of taking legal, civil or criminal action, but taking action legally to remove the obstacle. So if you think about someone's done something wrong, they have broken a contract with you, and now you're in a situation where there's no amount of negotiation and being nice that's going to get this resolution. What you've got to do is go take it to the courts, take it to the lawyers. So I would imagine that for many people in 2019, there was a lot of legal action, a lot of lawyer action. Lawyers made a lot of money last year. And so it's a symbol to talk about this idea of being decisive, of cutting through that obstacle and taking action. So maybe you weren't in litigation, or maybe you weren't litigated against or for, depending on your situation in 2019. But that's the idea of being very decisive and taking big, bold steps and cutting through the obstacle, letting go and bringing those cycles in for a close. A symbol of this 21 biting through is the legendary story of Alexander the Great and the Gordian knot. And in this Greek fiefdom, there was this town that had this undoable knot, wound round and round, an infinity knot. And the law of the time was that whoever was able to undo the knot could become king of this area. And along came Alexander the Great, and he looked at this knot, and he obviously tried to undo it and realized this is a knot that cannot be solved through tender working out how to undo the knot. And he took out his sword and he cleaved the knot open. And of course, all the villagers were horrified, but there was no rule against using a blade to cut through this knot. It was whoever cut through the knot, undid the knot, was king. And so he took this very bold, aggressive action with a sword to cleave open the obstacle. This is exactly the idea that I want you to think about for 2019. And perhaps as we roll over and wrap into 2020, there's still an opportunity to be Alexander the Great, take your sword and cleave through the knot that has been preventing you from moving forward. So good luck with that. So what does 2020 mean? What are we needing to focus on this year? Such an interesting set of hexagrams for us for 2020. The first one we get for the question of what are we supposed to focus on for 2020. Now, disclaimer, you in your own life have your own cycles of change you're going through. And the things that you're going through, your particular business issues, your personal issues, each one of them will have a different state of change and a different combination of things. What we're talking about are broad brushstrokes of themes we are all being asked to pay attention to. And then for you, there are layers underneath that. So hexagram 25, Innocence, is our first hexagram. And very interesting how both hexagrams we get for 2020 tell a very clear story for us. Now, 25 is also called the unexpected. And this hexagram, what it's asking us to develop and heal and learn is the capacity to respond spontaneously to the moment, because we are free of convoluted ideas, thoughts, and feelings. So if you are a young babe, you approach the world with an openness, right? You take everything as it comes, every situation that comes into your life, you take it in and you respond to it in the moment. You haven't got very controlled, convoluted ways of looking at the world. And in 2020, what we're being asked to pay attention to unlock the magic of the year, is to be open to the unexpected. I would say that for each of us, as we go into 2020, unexpected things are going to come. And I affirm that these are blessings. You know, these are opportunities in our businesses and our personal lives. These are things that come to help us. What prevents us from seizing those opportunities is if we have wrapped ourselves in a whole lot of string. Like a cat, you know, is playing with string, and you get all caught up in string and you get tied up in all these weird and wonderful concoctions we create in our minds and our hearts around what's important. So what does this mean? What are we being asked to do then as we focus on this theme in 2020? Well, one thing is we've got to get organized. Okay, we've got to get rid of chaos, because nature abhors a vacuum. You know, in nature, vacuum is filled with things. And if you create chaos, you don't create the vacuum or the space in your life to manifest what it is you're trying to do. So the first thing is create order. First step. The second step is to really be conscious of your thoughts and your feelings as you work through the year. This is a year where you suspend complex ideas around what must be and should be, and you create space, the vacuum, for things that are better that you didn't expect to come in. And so what we've got to do is we've got to be careful of very strong emotions, obsessions and compulsions. Now, we are all beset with obsessions and compulsions. Let's call it, we all have mental and emotional disease on some level. We all have something that goes grr, 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 grr. And our task is to put down and learn how to let go of the compulsions emotionally and mentally that we face. Things like jealousy and fear and self-loathing, and these habits, these emotional habits that keep us locked in that ball of string, we need to let go of them. And the same with our thoughts. Where do we obsess about things? And you've all had that. I've had that. You've had that, of where your mind goes into a loop, usually at 2 o'clock in the morning when you're stressed, and it goes around the same old little circuit, like an old gramophone that's playing the record round and round. And our task is to let go of trying to come up with clever ways of solving problems. So what this means is that our task is to just be open and to put down being too clever, being too controlling, trying to be convoluted in how we work things through. Now, in your business, this, as we start the year, is quite tough to do because we go into a goal setting phase, or maybe you've been through it last year, and you're now into, right, we're going to make our goals happen. What do we have to do to make our goals happen? And developing a capacity to set a direction and reach it is an attribute of mastery. We have to learn how to do that. But this year, we're being asked to pay attention to something different, which is being able just to be open and seeing what comes. And the only way we do that is we're free of the ball of string. So watch your thoughts, watch your feelings, watch your mental space, watch your physical space, and create order and silence there. Just quiet. Maybe this is the year that you start meditating, or you go and do exercising, whatever you've got to do to just breathe empty, quiet space into your mind and into your heart, and into your business and into your teams. Just breathe that quiet, empty space, because something's trying to come in. And unless there is quiet, unless there's openness to it, nothing can come in. So that is what we're being asked to pay attention to. And our changing line, very specifically in the 6th position, says, do not push. Okay, which seems like, how do we get our goals achieved in our business? We are pushing. And actually, we work so much harder than we need to work. In this year, we're being asked to just be and respond to the world as it is, rather than trying to mechanistically influence and force something. And the second hexagram for 2020, so the second state of change or relating hexagram that we're being asked to pay attention to, is the beautiful hexagram 17, following. We had this hexagram a couple of times last year, and this is about having a purpose, having a tribe, having something that you follow that's meaningful to you, following the course of events. This is you walking behind the footsteps of the person in front of you. Now, the person can be your spiritual beliefs, it could be your purpose of your business, it could be your family's goals, whatever it might be, following something that's meaningful to you. This is not you charging ahead and crashing through the bush so that others can follow you. Yes, people will follow you. So this is about you following something, and in doing that, creating a following behind you. The clearer you are on what you're following, the more you can build your following. And I think that if you really take this information to heart this year and you work with it, you will find that particularly in your businesses, you're going to grow your following. If you follow something that's meaningful to you and you follow it step by step, you can create the following behind you. So these two hexagrams are really interesting because they give us a very similar piece of advice. Be open to the unexpected. Okay, be free of convoluted thinking. And second of all, disentangling the way that we think, this ball of string, disentangling ourselves from our own convoluted entanglements, and then to follow something, follow the flow of events. This is about following the signs. And if you're a person that loves following signs, you can go full hog into this. This is about saying, oh, that's interesting. Follow the next steps. Oh, follow the next steps. This is not about, there's a peak, grab the peak, seize the mountain, conquer. That's not this process at all. This is a very gentle, very receptive following, handing over power to something bigger. And in your business, if you haven't yet thought about what is the purpose for why your business exists, this is an opportunity this year to really be open to understanding why you're doing what you're doing. Is it just to make money? Is that enough? What are you here to do? What are you personally here to do? What is your mission? Follow the signs and let your path be guided by something higher and more powerful than you, even if that's just a principle. So, very interesting. Letting go of the old, embracing the new, and we'll keep on touching into this theme of innocence, the unexpected, openness, disentangling, and of course, following something that's meaningful. I really wish you an amazing 2020. I look forward to all the things that we can do together on this channel. And I have lots of great ideas of ways that we can take things to the next level. So stay tuned, subscribe, share, like, all that jazz, because we'll keep on pushing ourselves to grow, to create clarity, agility, and mastery. Thanks so much for being here. And we'll see you soon for the monthly overview for January. Cheers.